Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Paranormal, the New Normal. I am your host, as always, Jeremy, here trying to make the world seem a little more normal. Does it really happen? No, no, never. Never. But you know what? We like it that way. But as always, a guest has joined me to try to bring normalcy to this. We'll see what happens. But my guest tonight is Reverend Eva Vennari. I am very happy to have her on. She is the CEO of the Elevate Institute and a holistic health practitioner and so much more, but I can only fit so much in the title. So we'll get to all the rest of it later on. But how you doing tonight, Eva?
Really good. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
My pleasure. Oh, let me start this with the same way I start every interview. Tell us what got you into the spiritual paranormal life.
Oh, this body. So
Well,
I can remember, and I hear a lot of this resonate with people when I speak in front of crowds. I'll say, did you ever feel like you were different? Did you ever feel like you stood out from everybody else? And that people can resonate. I see the reflection of light nodding in in the audience from their glasses. A lot of people feel different, and I'm included. That was a moment in young childhood. I can remember all the way back to just being able to communicate with ghosts.
ooh, what I love it when shows start off like this. I really do. Uh, And yes, people can 100% resonate with feeling different because I don't think everybody's supposed to feel the same. I think we're all supposed to feel a little different in our own weird, kinky ways, quirky ways, whatever you want to describe it. We're all supposed to be a little different, a little different. I mean, some of us are really different, which that was my high school experience. But so you could talk to ghosts though. So you're a medium, obviously.
That
On
too. Yeah.
oh yeah. So, how old were you when you first realized you could talk to ghosts?
Well, once I recognized what they were, I was quickly told by my father there was no such thing as. So the shaking of the head, I know. It was just, Catholic upbringing, and that kind of thing wasn't supposed
Yep.
to occur. And what's really funny to me is when I finally sat down. As a Catholic, we don't read the Bibles, and while then I'll give a caveat. I'm fully recovered Catholic. I no longer am in it, but when it comes to reading the Bible, it clearly says that ghosts can exist, necromancy and all of that stuff. So there is the possibility for it, but there seems to be this generalized normalcy around being made fearful of communicating with the dead. And in all, it comes as a gift. And rather than being recognized and celebrated, it was downplayed and squelched as this is a problem. Ignore it.
Yep. Uh, this is a tale I've heard one too many times on this show. I understand. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I 100% get that. It was the times. It was just the way it was. Religions didn't want to talk about the life after death thing. They didn't want to think that ghosts existed or well, I mean, they wanted you to believe demons exist, even if they didn't believe it, they wanted you to believe it just so you could give them the money for the freaking collection tray. But
Yes.
so, I mean, it's just so many times in the show that's how it starts. Religious upbringing, parents, and bam, everything gets shut down. So, how long did it take you to actually awaken after they shut you down?
Oh, it took me having a health crisis because when you shut down your gifts, then your body gets the message, oh, you want to shut down, you want to die. And so it starts this process of, instead of rejuvenating and growing, through my adolescence, I actually developed 30 different symptoms that were considered chronic illness that could not be cured by science or medicine.
Interesting.
Uh-huh. And the
So,
awakening only occurred after I was able to be stubborn enough to not take medications and heal myself in a holistic fashion, which was my very first business as a holistic health practitioner, which evolved.
nice. And I mean, yeah, as I advertised, there, folks, holistic health practitioner, and which 30 though, 30 unknown, uncurable diseases. That's insanity. That's
Yeah.
literally insanity. Like, how did you? How would you get through that? Like, how would you? Like, if I was given that diagnosis, I swear to God, I might have to go buy a shotgun. But
Well, it wasn't one. It wasn't all at once, was it? It was so. It started out as being something that was minor. Depression starts in adolescence, and a lot of
yeah,
doctors and just people in general would consider depression as normal part of functioning of a teenager. And like, oh, they're moody, right? They're moody, they're depressed, but that turned into infertility, autoimmune disorder. By the time I was 28, I was told I was infertile. I had osteoarthritis. I was told I'd be in a wheelchair by the age of 35. It was a lot of breakdown of the body, chronic fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, all of that. And while they're recognized and they're given a name, they are not given a cure according to medicine. In fact, I was told it's all in your head. Your tests all come back within normal range. That's the words, that's the phrases they give.
yeah, it's something you hear a lot actually in the spiritual world that have these diseases that don't show up on tests, but it's because I mean I just had a healer on last week, if I can remember, Diego San Miguel, and he says like he's like when the doctors can't find out what's wrong with your body, that's when they come to me
Yep.
because it's not your body, it's your soul, it's your chakra, it's inside you, but it's just not your body. That's
Well,
or it's just your energy.
and it was just the wrong kind of test. When you're barking up the wrong tree and they keep telling you things like, I have a podcast called When Doctors Say We Don't Know. Tons of practitioners who all started out in the medical field and then switched to the holistic because they kept hearing the same thing over and over again. We don't know what's wrong with you. So if you're barking up the wrong tree and getting the answer, we don't know what's wrong with you, listen to them and go, okay, this group of people don't recognize your illness. There must be another group of people who do. Find them. And I kept thinking, if you give your body what it needs, it can heal itself. And I was stubborn. I'm Sicilian, Italian. That is a feature, is to be stubborn. And you want to use that to your advantage. And so I did. And I just kept thinking, well, how do I know what it needs? And because I was blessed with insomnia at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was up searching internet and I put in a search string of all 30 different symptoms and said, there's got to be something on the internet somewhere. And I did find Google was not as helpful as it is today, but it did help me find this really obscure article describing how you would feel if you were minerally imbalanced. So the right kind of test matters. And for me, it turned out to be a hair biopsy. And that's what I became certified in. Most people don't know about it. And so that's part of,
Yes,
yeah. What is that? How does
uh,
that work? Yeah.
exactly. I saw that in your site today, and I was looking at it. I'm like, what in the world is a hair biopsy? I can't say I've ever heard of that except for like drug tests. So
It's, yeah, commonly used for drug testing, commonly used at least before DNA testing when it came to criminal activity. So if they would use it in court.
I don't know how well it would hold up nowadays, but actually, it
It's
still
just,
should. It's DNA. It's DNA. So
well, it's different. So when you're doing a mineral biopsy with mineral testing, you're looking at basically a trash report. And this is like, how, Eva, how does this tie into the spiritual world? Just hang on. We'll get there. So everything that you put into your body, what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, what sits against your skin and is absorbed into it all day long, your body lets in to make more you. Okay. There's no doorman that says, oh, you're a toxin, you need to stay out. It's all let in. It's a big party. Your body then goes through its
yep,
process of making more of what it needs to help you survive. And then whatever is left over and that you don't have the energy, the vital energy to utilize, it'll either store or it will expel. And that goes into the soft tissue, which is your hair and your nails. And so when we're testing your hair, we're seeing a trash report and we get to see your
interesting.
metabolism. Yeah, we get to see how your glands are working. We get to see how your nutrition is being absorbed, if it's being absorbed, and if you're getting rid of your toxins. So all of those things are seen, plus more. And I can see things like the dark night of the soul. I can see if you're hanging on to belief systems that no longer work for you. I can see all kinds of things that most people go, are you reading my mind when I'm giving them their analysis? No, I'm reading the black and white stuff on your test.
I didn't mean it. I was curious about before, but now I'm kind of wanting to get one done just to see what comes up. But
Yeah.
I mean, because I've always been one of those people who just I wasn't one of the people who likes going to the doctor, even though there's never really been anything wrong with me per se. Like, well, medically, my wife would disagree with there's nothing wrong with me, but mentally proven there's
This is
I
long.
mean medically proven there's nothing wrong with me as far as I know. But so I mean, I'm always one of the people who like going to the doctor because I never got bad news. So to me, it was always just kind of cool. Like, all right, I'll get checked out, whatever. I don't care. Let me see if there's actually something wrong. Never was, but so I mean, like the next step, like a hair biopsy, just sounds like kind of like, all right, cool. What can I find out this time? I mean, it's the same as talking to a psychic for me because it's just like I'm finding out things that I kind of know, but I don't bring to the surface, and it's
Yeah,
always awesome.
that's it.
So,
Yeah.
which so how does a hair biopsy like actually work scientifically, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, it reveals what your body needs in the moment to heal. So if we are going after the way that we've been taught to go after our health, which is the hunt and kill method of symptoms, right? I've got a headache, let me take an aspirin to kill it, right? That's not how the body heals. That's how we deal with trauma. So, two different things. And trauma can be stored in our so trauma can be stored in our layers of auric field. And when they are not processed, so we have an energy body that sits about 3 or so inches above our skin that we cannot see with this technology. But if you are trained in clairvoyance or medical mediumship, like I am, then you can actually see what's going on in the auric field. You can see if there's holes. You can see if there's unprocessed traumas. You can see if there's ancestral wounds and anything that has been inherited with your ancestors. If they didn't finish their contract with God before dying, then guess who inherits it? Ta-da, we do. So
Yep.
that sits outside in your field of influence, and then it slows down the physical parts in the body that are associated with that emotion. You've heard of emotion codes, right? So those would be like anger will sit in the liver or in the digestive system, or resentment sits in the pancreas, etc. It goes on and on. So you have all of these associations that can reveal the weakest part of the body. In that weakest part is where we collect toxic metals. Toxic metals also can be somewhat associated with demonic possession. So the associations, it's very complex. It's not something very simple with a this equals that. It is much bigger, it's much broader. And so clearing out my own toxic levels and realizing that my gifts were turning on because toxic metals don't run energy nearly the same as they do clean energy. You know, if you have
Exactly.
your body is built with the preferred minerals, the stardust that we are, then we're going to run energies from source much more clearly, and our gifts turn on, and then we're able to do the work. So that's how they're related. Your health and what we're made of helps you run the energies that keeps you on an ongoing healing path, aligns you with the larger part of you that is often turned into things like that's a paranormal activity, or that's a ghost haunting, or that's a, and they're all different things, none of which we should be fearful of.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. We shouldn't be afraid of demons. Which
Well,
I mean, well, I gotta ask. So I have to ask this question, or I'll get. Okay, I'm not gonna say what I want to say there, but I have to ask this question, otherwise I'm gonna get yelled at because I it's too close to Easter for that joke. But I will say though, I mean, are you saying that you don't? I mean, because I've heard people say this before that they don't think demons are a real thing, that they are what we just basically a scapegoat for other issues in our lives, whether it be mental or physical. That demons are just a scapegoat, basically a name that the church gave to something to scare us.
no, they're actually entities that belong to what's called the third heaven. Children of Lilith is another ancient wisdom.
Oh
You've heard
yeah,
of that? Yeah, so they are existing, not to be confused with the scapegoats of our world. So anytime you're in fear, guilt, or shame, you're creating what I call sticky spots for demonic possession. And that could even mean the self-fulfilling prophecies that occur when people use scapegoats, right? But there are absolutely demonics out there. I run into toe to toe with them very often. And it is not so much that I'm out there doing the battle. I'm the conduit through which the powers of heaven, i.e., angels and other helpful elementals, and then my loved ones and guides help me clear out. And we don't play kindly with them. Anything that removes free will from your person, from your sovereign being, is at large under a microscope when I do a restore session with somebody.
Interesting. I mean, see, if more and more people need to find out about this type of stuff because I feel like people are wasting their lives going to doctors over and over again just to get the wrong answers when the holistic world of healing is just so, I mean, the Eastern world already knew this for thousands of years, but the Western world needs to catch up because the holistic world of healing, spiritual healing, like it just, I've seen so many people on this show that they seem like they could heal the world if they actually were given the resources to do that, which they're not ever, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, you have to be open for the healing. A lot of people go, oh, let me pray for you, right? You've heard of that. Let me pray for you. I'll send prayers. Prayers don't work without the permission of the person you're sending them to, and they have to be willing to receive the healing.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, makes sense. I mean, otherwise you are taking away their free will. So it actually does make sense. Never thought about it that way. I mean, kind of makes me almost laugh about when I was a kid in church all the time and like every Sunday, oh, the minister will pray for this person because they're homesick today, or this person because they're not feeling well. And it's just like now I'm thinking about like, what if they didn't want your prayers? What if
Thank
they
you.
just want to like live in their misery?
Well, it's not so much in live in misery. It's about respecting their wishes. And it goes back to when I was 7 years old. I'll tell a little story about that. I was shocked because as a 7-year-old, even I understood the concept of praying for others. And at the time, my aunt was dying she was suffering with ovarian cancer. And it was end stages. She had, the medical bed in the living room. That's how bad it was. And she was just in a chronic pain all the time, moanful pain. And I remember going up to her and holding her hand through the guardrails of the medical bed. And I says, I'm praying for you and I want you to get better. And she stopped all her noises and she looked dead at me in the face and she says, Eva, you stop praying for me right now. I don't want it. I want to die. First of all, that's really, quite shocking to say to a 7-year-old. But secondly, she was dying, right? It's like, how could you not listen to that? And that's where I learned in that moment, you have to give people grace for what they want.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, as a 7-year-old, yeah, that would be heart wrenching probably,
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah, I mean, as an adult, I could say I would respect that. Like if any of my grandparents actually saw me in the hospital and they said like, let me die, I mean, I probably would just. I've always respected death, so I always would probably just go with it because it's their wish. You
Yeah.
can't you can't if you force somebody to go on living when they don't want to, they're gonna regret it. They're gonna be mad at you for doing that. I mean, it's like when someone has an NDR and yet like the family refuses to let the hospital pull the plug. It's just like, why? You're going against everything they wished. It's just because it's because you are selfishly trying to hold on to them when they want to be let go. It's just sad. It's really sad. I mean,
Well,
I don't know. It
and
just
it's a really good example of how misunderstood those who are in transition are and transition. So if we have a soul that has never been born, so it can never die, that means we are eternal. It's just the body that is something that expires. So it's interesting to me from my perspective, and with my gifts, I'm armed with the gifts to be able to speak to the dead. And so for me, they never really go, they're never gone. Their access is different. And in actuality, they become more available once they're out of their human body. So if we
yeah.
understand transition better, we would be celebrating the freedom that they now have from living a human life. And they can be a part of ours as a guide, as opposed to, they're gone forever. I think we just think of it wrong. That's all.
Which, I mean, it makes sense because they probably could help us out a lot more when they're actually free from their human body, which was causing them pain. So they're basically, I mean, excuse the pun, but they're free spirits at that point. But
And exactly true. Yes.
so I got okay. Well, before I go to the next topic, I didn't want to bring up because you mentioned it earlier. I gotta ask this question. I ask everybody who can have some kind of relationship with spirits. What was the most horrifying experience with a spirit you ever had?
My very first paranormal experience, which actually turned out to be, people call it poltergeist, but I have a different definition for poltergeist than most. Poltergeist is simply a part of you that you have rejected that is trying to return to you. And that became very clear in hindsight. You know how hindsight's 2020? Yeah. Clear.
Always, always.
Yeah. So I'm starting to awaken at this point, and this was back 2008, 9, something like that. And I had just had a huge blowout fight with my older daughter, and both of them were both of my kids were then out of the house for the day, and I decided to go back into her bedroom to just pray. And at this time, that was a still regular part of my world, was the Catholic. I hadn't left the church yet, and I sat on her bed and I'm praying about what revealed to me, what's the solution here? I don't understand why this is so difficult. Raising kids are supposed to be a blessing. Like, all of this is coming up for me. And in the middle of my prayer, there was a Van Gogh. I don't think it matters what kind of painting it was, but that's what it was, hanging on the wall about a foot away from my head. And it came off the wall and hit me in the head and then dropped behind me to the bed. So that was alarming. And I've gone toe to toe with demons since then. And because of that, the training that I've had, that is not nearly as scary as that moment in the unknown.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I'm sorry, that was just hilarious that when you said raising children is supposed to be a blessing. Yeah. Raising children is a reason to smoke, a reason to do a lot of things. So,
I
I
often
mean,
said it's a miracle I didn't become a drunk, because I raised my kids as a single mom. Their dad died at some point in the middle there, and so he wasn't around to help out. And yeah, supposed to be a blessing for sure. It was a challenge.
I think it's a blessing at the end of it all. When you can look back and you watch them raising their kids, and it's just like, now it's a blessing because I get to watch. I get to watch you be tortured the same way you tortured me. So,
Yes.
yeah, that's
Funny but and true. Yes.
I mean, it is. Trust me. I got a 6 and a 9-year-old. I know. But you said something earlier about past lives, and I did see on your site that you're an Akashic record worker, and I've talked to past life worker healers before, past life transgressors, and so what is it exactly past lives that you tend to, what got you to want to do past lives? Because I mean, I find them fascinating, but everybody has different reasons for wanting to get into them, and I always find it fascinating.
Yeah, well, there's a group of us who have many, multiple past lives, and there are also groups of us who have only lived one life. And it depends on the origin of the soul. It depends on your starseed ancestry. It depends on your mission as a soul in relationship to the collective that's here on Earth. So for me, I've had, as far as I'm aware of, let me clarify. I've had a certain guide in my life who has shared with me that this guide and myself have shared over 2,000 lives together of my
Whoa,
lifetimes. And while his lifetime was singular.
that's kind of cool though. I mean, because I mean, it's also it'd be a good sitcom actually, because he watches you every life just making the same mistakes, and it'd be a comedy thing. It'd be a comedy thing. I mean, I swear I could
No,
write
you're
it, but
right. Yeah. It was funny because when I first was reintroduced, in fact, it was just June of 23 that he reappeared into my experience in this lifetime, and getting to know him. And I said, do you ever get tired of telling me the same stuff over and over again. He's like, well, at least you're consistent.
That's funny. That's funny. So, do you do Akashic record readings for other people, or is it or is it just your own? I mean, you were inspired by your own past lives, but 2,000 past lives. How's that possible? I mean, okay, I know how it's possible, but okay, I guess it's kind of segue. I was gonna bring this up in a little bit, but it kind of just I segued myself into this.
Mhm.
So wormholes, I love to jump down them.
Yep.
So you said star seeds, and as someone who's brought up Catholic, and another thing Catholic Church loves to not talk about is extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
So, I'm guessing some of these lives that you lived in the past were not necessarily on Earth.
All of those are on Earth. Yeah. So when it comes to dragon magic, yet another thing I'm throwing into the mix at you. So when it comes to dragons, they're from, we're talking about the dragons on Earth, and so the lifetimes that I've spent are with them in helping humanity through this test of life. Yeah.
You're not the first person to bring up dragon magic on this show, but there's been very few and far between who even knew what it was. So
Yeah.
that's why I smiled and did a little fist bump in the air when you said that. I was like, yes, I love dragon magic. It's always an interesting topic. It really is. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's funny. I mean, it's not something I ever thought I'd actually really talk about in this show until I had a paranormal investigator on who is in Pennsylvania and talks about getting calls because people are seeing dragons outside of mines in Pennsylvania. So,
Yeah. They exist.
so they do. But I was asking, and I was just like, I was asking, and I'm just like sitting there, like, dragons do exist. I thought Supernatural was lying about that one, but so, but the dragons you're talking about, they're not necessarily physical normally, right? They're usually more of a spiritual form, or
Well, so let's get sciencey. We'll get techie. Have you ever heard of the tachyon field?
I believe I actually have.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear a lot of science terms in this show, and sometimes they all go together. But
Well, they
I
do.
believe it's a multidimensional thing, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. Yeah. So this is in the 3D space, time space continuum. A tachyon is unstable, and so it will disappear. And scientists were like, well, where does it go? So you have the 3D world. Let's call it the positive field, and then for every positive, you have a duality, which is the negative. That's the tachyon field. Tachyon field is in the other world. Quite literally, that's what it's called, other world.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and so the other
And I
world is not heaven. This is just another place of existence, like you said, and another dimension, another place where we can go. And this is where you find the fairies. This is where you find the dragons, the unicorns, all of the elementals and the assistants, magic. It exists over there. It's where the elves are. It's where people are going, ooh, Eva's crazy. Maybe. But
no, I actually believe in this. I actually believe in this theory a lot because I am a huge proponent of multiple dimensions, and I mean it's now when people want to say that Bigfoot is ultra terrestrial, that I gotta kind of argue sometimes, but I do
no,
believe
it's
that
from
certain
here.
creature. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I do have to believe that some creatures, such as Fae, elementals, and other ones that you mentioned, they are obviously like ultra terrestrial. They're from another dimension because they always seem to pop in and out when they want to.
That's right. Through holes.
So
Yeah. There's portals. And that's what people talk about this all the time. Oh, I've got some sort of entity running around. First thing I look for is a portal. And so I'm scanning their space. Where is it? Is there a hellhole? Did somebody kill themselves at some point and opened a time-space continuum hole to hell? Like, what is going on? And all of these things relate to each other. Hauntings are oftentimes just moments, the moment of time when a piece of a person's soul was pulled out and left behind as a recording. That's what hauntings are.
Yeah, like a residual haunting where it's just the person doing the same activity over and over again, basically.
Yes.
But
Yeah. And so you can
with
solve that. There's a solution to that. The whole completion to that circle is doing a soul retrieval for a person who had a traumatic moment and left a piece of their soul behind. Whether that was a current life or a past life, doesn't matter.
well, I mean, it makes sense, and I mean, it's also kind of the theory I always heard on shadow people was similar. Is that maybe shadow people are just from another dimension? We're just seeing like a reflection of them, what they're doing.
Shadow people. That could
I'm sure
a
you're.
lot of times those
Uh,
are fae, and because they do an awful lot of like, okay, fairies are not kind and sweet and fun and nice. They are
oh, they got
terribly
claws.
venomous.
They got
Yeah.
claws. I've heard that a lot. The Fae have claws. They don't like to be messed with. I mean,
Yes.
that's where all the old like beliefs are of. Oh, leave a little bowl of milk out for dwarves and whatnot. Like leave the fairy something out, something sugary out, just so they behave. Like that's where all the old English like traditions come from. It's just yeah. I mean, you probably should have done things like that because that fairies are not nice. That from everything I heard, they are not nice usually. They're not there to help you. They're usually there just to pester you. But and I mean, I've talked to people who have seen them. I've yet to see a good picture of one. I've seen very good fakes on Facebook of them, but it's just there's no photographic evidence. There's no audio edit evidence. I mean, oh, actually, that's not true. I've heard some pretty convincing audio evidence, but there's not great audio evidence.
Yeah. Well, that's what the clairs are for. And so we have, of course, our senses that are physical, belong to our body, that many are tuned into, and they say I want to see it, right? I want to hear it. I want to be able to smell it. I want to be able to touch it or taste it. And you do have the ability as a human being to develop your senses, your clairs, your clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, all of those things, claircognizance, they are available to you to develop, and you can experience these beings with them.
You know, it's funny. I've been told that I was told a long time ago in the show that I'm supposed to be an empath, and that it's opening up slowly. I gotta admit, things have been hectic lately the last 6 months or so, and it kind of feels like it went away. But I know it's there. I sometimes can still kind of sense things, but it's not as powerful as it was about a year ago. But I don't know. Part of me thinks I gotta start embracing that side more. But then the rest of me is just too busy with everything that's in my daily life, and it's just yeah, it doesn't happen. But someday soon, maybe I'll get back to that. But yeah, I mean, it's just all these things that exist. It's just the non-believers is what kills me because it's like, do you really think humans are the only intelligent creatures that exist in this world? Do you really think that? It's not possible. The laws of science prohibit it, basically.
Well, it's a safe belief, isn't it?
Well, I mean, yeah. Just like people who believe that the Catholic Church will protect them. Yeah.
Oh no, no. So I get curious. This is what I think about in my free time. I was wondering one day, not too long ago, is this concept of needing an exorcist only in the Catholic Church? And so I pulled out my phone and I did a quick search. No, sure enough, for every single religion, there is the need for an exorcist of some kind to help get rid of, these perceived, whether it's an excuse like you were talking about earlier, like a scapegoat, or whether it was a real attachment from another dimension. And they are necessary if we want to maintain our sovereignty. And why is that important? Because we're here for the purpose of free will.
Exactly. And if everybody's controlled by attachments and no one's at free will, and well, then we're gonna look like the government. So that wouldn't be a good thing.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
we definitely have issues.
100% we would. And I actually believe I either have lined up or he's been on the show before. I can't remember, but there's a Jewish exorcist in the works somewhere for this show. Just saying, because I did come across one at some point. I can't remember if he's already been on the show and I just haven't released the episode yet, or if I'm going to be interviewing him. I record a lot, but But noticed that I noticed that you were a into Reiki as well, which Reiki is. I actually was working with a Reiki practitioner for until a couple months ago for a good like 6 months. So I love Reiki. It was one of those things that people come on my show and talk about. And I'd be sitting here like, I don't know if I can believe that works. Well, I was could slap myself in the face a couple months later because I found out it works very well.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about it's the Christ consciousness that we're pulling on, and it's the for me, I work with the Ensophic Ray Reiki. And this is not the American watered down version. This can be tracked all the way back to my lineage in Japan. And so this work is exactly what Jesus used to do hands-on healing.
Really, I never I never knew that was related to Reiki at all.
Yes, Reiki was one of his main ways of healing, because when you bring in the Christ consciousness through your seventh crown chakra, right? It goes all the way through you into your hands, and it's a one way energy flow from your hands into the person. And you're not blasting anything away. That's a common word that I know Western Reiki people use. They're not blasting. We're allowing for new space. We're allowing for the opportunity for healing to occur, again, with permission of the person.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Luckily, Jassy, the one I worked with, didn't use the word blasting. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have worked with her for long because that would have turned me off right away. Like,
Yeah.
I would have looked at, I probably would have looked at her like, what? Like, why are you using that word? That
Uh,
doesn't make sense in this situation. And I'm blasting away. That sounds like something the church would say. Blast away the demons. But I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. Reiki, just for me, I mean, it's made me tear up. It's made me feel empty. It's made me feel full. Like Reiki, it works wonders. It can do amazing things. I mean, help, I can get it done every day. I would, but my bank account don't allow that, so that don't always work. But and I mean, I was getting it. We made a deal at that point, so I wasn't paying for it anyway. Thank God, because I couldn't afford it. But for those who can, or if you learn it yourself, because I mean, from what I've been told, anybody can do it. Anybody
Yeah.
can do it if you practice enough. So
Yes. Yeah. If you're
it's
trained, get the proper training. Don't go on YouTube and do the free training videos to become a master Reiki. You can't. There's especially when it comes to the lineage I'm talking about. There's aspects to the human. Remember, I mentioned the auric field. There are sigils that need to be activated for the purpose of using it. And so you learn this in person. You learn how to use it from a person who has learned from another master previous. And so it's a handed down method.
yeah, which I mean, it is. I yeah, I mean, you literally have to put your mind to it. Like even if you're getting it done on you, you have to put your mind into it. You can't just sit there and be doing your own thing on your phone or something and think it's just going to happen. It's not going to. You have to want it to happen to you. And once you do want it to happen to you, it's going to happen. I mean, I never thought someone could control my emotions from across the country, but apparently they can. So, holy crap. And thank you, Harley. Harley says the show is very interesting. So, glad people are being entertained because this is a. Okay, well, here we go. Apparently, Harley was commenting on Instagram, and I didn't even see it because Instagram and StreamYard haven't got things quite worked out yet.
Okay.
But she asked the question of how do you find out about your past life?
Ah, so if you have access to Akashic record readers, they can do that. Past life regression taught by Dolores Cannon. She does something, or she's now deceased. She passed away in 2013, but she has a certification program where she's trained people, not me, I haven't done it, but you can get it done. I use crystals. So I have a pair of twin crystals that I use. This is witchcraft magic that I use. And I'm on all kinds of magic, not just witchcraft, but this one, it's it's an ability. You can ask me a direct question. I then access. I've been ordained as a what do you call it? I can read the Akashic records for all time, everywhere, every dimension. And the crystal gives me a direct answer. So you ask me a question, I get the answer, and I just speak it to you. So it's an in-person thing. I'm not the only one that can do it, but there are several different ways where you can find out your past life. Yeah, the quantum past life regression by a Dolores Cannon certified person is probably your best bet, though.
And if you go on Facebook and Instagram, there are tons of people there who will tell you they can do past lives. I would be wary of who you actually work with because check them out first. Don't just assume anybody can do it. But
Yeah.
there's good and bad of everything out there. Everybody in the spiritual paranormal realm has good and bad progressions, and there's some books out there how to tell the difference actually. But I've had a couple of those people on. But it's important to know the difference. Really is.
Yes.
I see too many scams on Instagram with people trying to get free, saying they'll give you a reading, but if you give a small donation, and then you get the donation, and then they block you. So can't say I've done it, but I've had people come to me like, "This happened." I'm like, "What do you want me to tell you? What do you want me to tell you? I can't. I'm not a psychic police. I can't do anything about that. Like it's just the way it works." But well, and I see. I always wanted to have my past life done. It was something I was supposed to have done with a previous guest a couple years ago. It just never happened because we scheduled it, and then something came up on her end. But because I swear to God, I think I'm related to King Arthur. I just want to find out for sure. I think I'm related to King Arthur. It feels inside like I'm related to him, but I don't know. Maybe a dream, maybe a hope. I don't know, but I think maybe it's just my love of mythology. But
Could be. Yeah. If you have an attraction to it, especially if you have biological history or the possibility. So if some part of your ancestry is English, could be possible.
Scottish and English, so I
Yeah.
mean
Yeah.
somewhere.
He was born in Scotland, right? Um, Actually, yeah, his birthplace was Scotland, and then where he
Yeah,
ruled from was in the West Coast, and then Glastonbury, which I did a conference. I spoke at the Glastonbury Ascension Conference in August this year. Visited the grave, which was interesting. I picked talk about paranormal, so I picked up an entity there. I didn't know what it was, and I got home September because I spent the month in England, and I kept feeling really foggy and really drained. And I thought, gosh, what is going on here? Is this jet lag that lasts a month? This is weird. And so I reached out to my spiritual 3D guide and coach. She's here on planet Earth, a real human being person, another starseed volunteer on the planet like me. And I says, can you check what's going on with me? Because I'm not feeling right. And she says, oh, yeah, you picked up something when you were at the Abbey in Glastonbury. And so I reached out to my dragon and I says, you're supposed to be protecting me. What's the deal here? And so we did some time travel to go pick up Morgana. You know the name Morgana from the characters of
Morgana Le Fay, yeah, of course.
yeah, right. So apparently she's me from a past life, and she looks at me and she goes, "Cool, you're right on time. Let's go." And she wanted to converge and timeline merge with me. So she's a part of my experience now.
That is freaking awesome. I'm not gonna
Freaking
lie,
out.
that's freaking awesome. Do I know the name Morgana? Please. I've I've listened
Well,
and read every King Arthur thing you could ever find in the world.
there you go.
Uh, I love mythology of all nations. I love, but English mythology and is just so much more interesting. But
Yeah.
personally,
There's
personally,
a huge draw. It feels very much at home for me when I go to England. I like to spend months out of the year there every year.
that's on the bucket list. England and Scotland's on the bucket list, along with many other countries around the world that, well, by the time I get to do it, who knows if we'll be allowed to travel anywhere. But who knows? I mean, the way the world's going, I don't know. But you brought up Starseeds again, and I have had Starseeds in the show before. Actually, one of my first guests was a Starseed, and I never heard that term until she came on the show, and she said I'm a Starseed. I'm like, oh, what now? And she went to the full she went to the full explanation of what it is, of course. And I actually had her back on another show I was on for a while, for an episode, and like my co-host on that show loved her too. She's what's she going by now? Shantae Simon or Earth Angel? She goes by,
Oh, Earth Angel.
or
Okay, yes.
yeah, she goes by Earth Angel, but she's very brilliant, very knowledgeable, very wise. So, do you actually, when it comes to extraterrestrials, I guess the best way to ask is, what is your belief on extraterrestrials? Because there's a lot of different theories out there that people believe, and everybody's different. But starseeds tend to all lean kind of the same way. But I always like to ask.
Well, you know, if you got an advanced society, I doubt they need ships to get around. They're using astral travel, or they're yeah, okay. So this is how I learned about who I am and what star seed I'm a part of. Most people have heard of the Anunnaki, the Pleiadians, the what's another one? People from Orion.
Oh, the Anunnaki, the Palladians, and oh my God, I mean reptilians, yeah, but the bad guys. But
Oh well, yeah,
well,
not all of them are bad. It's just like they're like humans. Everybody has an ability to express themselves in a way that is corrupt or not. So if we think of them that way, it's not about what's good or bad. It's just what are they doing in the world. And for me, I'm a part of a group that most people haven't even heard of, and I found out about them because they kept pulling on my consciousness. I'm trying to work, and I'm busy trying to do what I need to do on my computer. And all of a sudden I feel this floatiness and nope, I need to concentrate. I'm doing my work. I'm on the computer. And finally they were so obnoxious. I finally said, fine. I got in a bad mood real quick. What do you want? And I immediately found myself up on I knew I was out of Earth, and it's, the body stays here. It's the consciousness that goes. And I remember seeing in the theater of my mind a cave-like structure with was lots of room, beautiful pale pinky color, like my mouse, this color pink of the walls of this cave. And there were 5 light bodies of people in front of me. I couldn't see faces, but I could see light. And I says, where am I? Who are you? And why the hell am I here? Like, you abducted me. I do not like that. So I got a little frisky with them about it. And they said, oh, well, you're one of us. Great. Who are you? Oh, we're the collective from Sirius B. Okay. Now, why am I here? And they go, you'll see. And they pop me down in my body again. And this happens a lot with spirit. They'll hand me information, give me a tool, give me a gift, give me a thing. And I ask, why do I have it? And they say, you'll see. And I do always see, but it's very annoying.
Swear to God, these freaking extraterrestrials are just teases. They're just teases. I swear to God. But
all of the spirit world, it kind of is, because they don't have to abide by the same time-space construct that we do. The whole purpose for the 3D world is for this body, which is what allows us to do magic here. And that's a whole nother conversation. So the body is about, being here on planet Earth, connected to Gaia energy and the energies here, and then also connected to our source. That together, all of that creates the perfect wheelhouse for being able to run magic and do manifestations and live the life that we desire and bring in our gifts. So all of that is related to this. And I get back down to my body and I decide to reach out to that same 3D master and guide that I have here on planet Earth. And I says, hey, you ever heard of Sirius B Collective? She goes, no, but you should probably get a galactic activation. What the heck's a galactic activation? Well,
that was my next question.
Well, why do we have only 23 chromosomes? The missing one is actually multidimensional, and this galactic activation activates it.
Real. And can anybody get this, or does it have to be like special
anybody.
born?
No, anybody can get it. So this is so I looked up online where this class was being given to do the activation. And this very rare class that's normally given every 1 or 2 years. It was during COVID, by the way. Talk about timing. Timing seriously. Is crazy. 2 weeks from that date that I was contacted is a scheduled galactic activation in Florida, and I live in LA. And at the time, nobody was traveling. So it was $100 round trip from LAX to Orlando.
Nice. That's awesome.
I know. I'm like, okay, which on a budget? This is awesome. So I get there and I'm sitting in my seat. We're all 6 feet apart with the mask and the shield, and we've, they're
yeah.
So on the screen it says, "Welcome to Galactic Activation." Next slide. We're going to be working with the Nathors. The Nathors, okay, never heard of them before. Next screen, they're from Sirius B.
Son of a that's
I know.
That's why I would have. I would have been like, "Oh, come on!"
I did.
Like,
I totally did. I almost fell out of my chair. I was just flabbergasted. And I went, okay, all right, I'm here. I've shown up. I'm doing this.
uh,
So it's
you
the
know,
you'll see.
I mean, that's actually something I got to Google tomorrow now. I kind of want to do one of those classes just to see what I can unlock. I mean, they never abduct me. I don't know why. Am I not special to you? Come on.
Well, I'm
I'm
one of them, right? So if my star seed is the Nathors, and then you look up, I'm a first of all, primarily a holistic health practitioner, right?
yeah,
Into healing. If you look up what the Nathors do, they teach the humans how to take care of their human body.
makes sense, but so they're basically just farmers in a way?
No, because health is more than just what you eat, although it is part of that. It's about managing your energy. It's about self-regulation. It's about boundaries around how you conduct yourself, both in the business world and in your personal world. It's a big deal, and it's basically everything that I had already brought in and downloaded to be a part of my company, the Elevate Institute, and healing. Now they're just basically putting it into a nice little, box with a neat bow on top, saying, "Yeah, this is the work that we trained you to bring in."
No. When I said were they farmers, I meant like more like were their livestock in a way, because they want to keep our bodies nice and pristine. But
No,
what?
no, no, no. They're helpers. These are people who are here and concerned with the outcome of the test of Earth, if you will call it that. This is the Catholics believe you get one life, right?
Yeah.
And then you have people like me who are starseed and volunteers here to help those who get the one life. So both can exist at the same time.
See, I think you're one of the first people I've ever actually heard say that they both can exist. Because most people I talk to, it's never, oh, we only get one. I mean, our bodies may only get one go around, that
Yes,
particular body, but
yes.
our spirits go round and round like on a merry-go-round for all of eternity, basically, till we accomplish our goals. The best way to put it.
Possibly, possibly. There is a construct in place where it is not up to just us entirely to do that. It's messy. It's not a neat little package deal where we get to pick from. I want this kind of life, and I want this kind of life, or I want the upgrade. I want the VIP package for this lifestyle. No, it's very messy out there. Like that's probably why we want to make it so simplified.
I mean, yeah. Well, we're humans. We want to simplify everything because we want to be able to get from point A to point B and get done fast as possible. That's what we do. We rush through the rat race that is life and try try to gather as much as we can carry. But
Yeah,
basically, I mean, it's just I've I'm a huge believer in manifestation. I'm a huge believer in fate and karma and all that. So
yeah.
I try to slow down every day and see things at different levels, but sometimes life gets in the way. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. Life gets in the way sometimes. When you're trying to make money to pay this bill or that bill, you don't have time to sit there and be like, I'm gonna pay the bill. You can say to yourself, I'm gonna pay the bill all day, but it doesn't mean the money's just gonna pop in your bank account so you can pay it. But
No,
or
but
the companies are. Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just interrupting. That was me. My bad. But
Ah,
the idea is if you're inspired to take an action, the action can put money into the bank account for you. So you can have the life that you direct that with purpose, and that takes more what's that called? Discipline. Which apparently that was not a top of mind word. I have difficulty with that myself. The only thing I'm really disciplined with is my spiritual hygiene. Of course, personal hygiene, but spiritual hygiene is utmost important because if I am compromised in any way, I can't help anybody else.
tell you, I need a goddamn dragon look. Because I swear to God, it feels like this winter, like there's been something hanging over me. Like every time I get better, something I get sick again. Like either it's my damn kids in school or it's something attaching itself to me.
They're a petri dish. I'm telling you.
Oh,
My kids were in elementary school, I was constantly sick. Yes.
yeah, trust me. The school finally sent out freaking emails today, like warning about strep throat and respiratory viruses, and they're like, "You're just figuring this out in freaking March. You should have figured this out back in October. Put the damn mask.
When school was
Make
back in session. Yeah.
make the kids put the fucking mask back on. I don't care."
Teach them to
Like,
sneeze in their hand or get a tissue and wash their hands regularly. You have to teach them that stuff. That's not something they just
oh,
know to do, you know.
my kids know do that. I mean, my kids are were trained from a young age to wash their hands as much as possible, but it doesn't just because they're taught something doesn't mean they listen constantly.
Correct. They have to learn. And that's true at every age. I often wonder, why don't people look for the longevity solution? And it's because they can get through life on default to a certain degree. And as long as they function, they can ignore what's wrong.
I mean, that's what allows our government to run the way it does. I'll say that much. I mean, because literally, it's like looking at the election coming up in November. It's just literally like, why is there no one in the middle? Why do I have to look left or right? Come on, like give me something
Yeah.
else. Give me a goddamn alien. Give me a gray. Give me a freaking reptilian. Hell,
Ah,
get Hillary Clinton.
it's a
Get Hillary.
representation.
Get
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton on stage. Tell her to take off her mask and show her reptilian face, and I'll vote for her. I don't care. Like Jesus, give me something. But
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, the masses are in this state themselves. There's very few people who have reached the awakened stage where they can see that there's a need for a middle where the masses will vote for it. The masses are a reflection of what we see as, you know, black and white. And it's a general immaturity of belief systems. That's all it is.
I agree, and this is why I haven't voted in an election since 2008. So, because I
Well, we don't,
refuse. I just
yeah,
why vote when there's not going to be a difference? You're either
but
going to get
we,
one extreme.
yeah.
You're going to get one extreme or the other, and your one vote is not going to change your state's decision. I'm sorry, but very rarely does that happen. Very rarely.
Yeah. Local government is where it is, and we don't even vote. It's a popularity contest, and we vote for the president. It's the electoral college that actually votes in the president. And I don't know where that's been lost in translation, but we're getting political, but that's all right.
This podcast can get political sometimes because there's plenty paranormal about politics. I mean, uh, trust
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
Listen to the episodes where I deep dive with guests into extraterrestrial history with presidents. Oh, that was some fun. That's a fun conversation, always. But it's like a couple hours long, that conversation. But a lot of wormholes in that conversation always. But I do want to thank Eva for coming on tonight. It's been a pleasure having her on. It was a fun. Seriously, this hour flew by. I didn't even realize it was been so long. I looked at the clock. I'm like, oh, geez, okay,
yeah.
been a fun
Went by
conversation.
fast.
And I learned some new stuff tonight, guys. That's always the goal of this show, is for me to learn some new stuff. It doesn't happen every episode, but it's always the goal. So tell the people, Eva, where can they find you? Where can they, if they want any of your services, where can they find your podcast you mentioned earlier? Just
Yeah.
promote yourself to the fullest.
Well, there's a tons, as you've heard. There's so much work that could be done and needs that have gone unmet because we don't know where to find the answers. And here's what I offer. So if you go to theelevateinstitute.com, you'll see at the bottom of my homepage, start here. You can make yourself an appointment with me, carve out some time for a 20-minute free phone call. I'm going to listen to you and find out what's going on in your world and then make recommendations. I do not expect you to know what you need. I'm going to make sure that you get what you need. And if I'm not the one that offers it, I'll make a recommendation for someone who can.
Well, there you go, folks. You can't get much more honest than that because trust me, a lot of people in the spiritual side of the world, they ain't gonna recommend anybody else. They'll even if they can't help you, they're gonna say they will. But so that's the honesty right there, folks. So I advise you all take her up on it. Of course, Eva's links will all be on the description for the podcast for all my listeners. So of course, and you all know where to find me. If you don't, it's been scrolling across the screen the whole time if you're a watcher. So that's just laziness. And to all the listeners, shame. But it's in the outro. It's in the outro. Check it out. If you don't know by now, God help you all. Check it out. The outro. It'll be there. And I will be back Saturday morning at 9 a.m. with another interview. I know, 9 a.m. on a Saturday. I don't think anybody's will be watching, but we'll be there for an interview and we'll see how it goes. But until next time, listeners and watchers, I'll thank Eva one last time for coming on. because it's truly been delightful.
My
And
pleasure.
I will bid you all good night because I'm tired as can be.